Hello everyone. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. For the Independence weekend, I am headed up to visit some friends, and there is a bit of history in through that area. So I figured, why not do a little video on a couple of the historic sites in Sioux City, Iowa. Sioux City is a smaller Midwestern city along the Missouri River. It is located between Omaha, Nebraska and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. During the time that America was being explored, Sioux City was one of the, I guess you could say, kind of stopping points that some of the expeditions took. One of the most famous was the Lewis and Clark expedition, which started off in St. Louis, Missouri, and cut over to the Missouri River, and then followed the Missouri River up and west, and the expedition eventually ended up on the Pacific coast. And during the time that the Lewis and Clark expedition was in Sioux City, Sergeant Floyd got sick and passed away and is buried in that area. So we have some things like the Sergeant Floyd Monument. Also, another famous historic site in the area is the War Eagle Monument, where Chief War Eagle and some of his family are buried. Several years ago, they built the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center, which is a very nice little museum and history center that details the Lewis and Clark expedition. The Lewis and Clark Expedition Center has a number of artifacts and details the history of the Lewis and Clark expedition, including many of the historical facts of the expedition when it was in the area of Sioux City. The area also has some other, I guess you could say, sights to see. It does have a Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, and especially during the summer months, they do have a wide variety of concerts in their outdoor amphitheater. And I know that there are a lot of people throughout America that make a adventure out of going around and hitting each of the Hard Rock hotels and casinos, not only throughout the country, but some people also do it throughout the world. So if anybody out there is looking for their next Hard Rock hotel, there is one in Sioux City, Iowa. Sioux City is also home to Palmer Candies, which makes some really delicious, obviously, candies. They have a great little store in downtown Sioux City where they sell a wide variety of their candies, as well as some of their more specialty chocolates. They also have some other merchandise for your kitchen. They have t-shirts and hoodies and that sort of thing too. So I figured that, especially right now, I'm not doing any international travel. I'm not really worried about, getting sick per se. What I am worried about is spending thousands of dollars to get to some other country and then showing a positive test result and then being stuck in quarantine for a couple of weeks and basically wasting all of the money and now just sitting in a hotel in some foreign country. So I think I'm going to wait a little bit longer, at least probably till closer to the end of the year, maybe October or something before I think about any sort of international travel. So I figured this would be a nice way to make another short video and also highlight some of America's great history. Throughout this year, with everything being locked down so much, especially on the international level, I had really thought about all of the history that America has, and had really thought about working on doing some travel videos here in America, and figured that this would be a quick little start to that, and then kind of depending upon how things go, maybe I'll end up doing some more of those. There are so many beautiful things to see in this country, and there are so many historic things as well, that I figured it would be a great little addition to this channel. We are at the first stop on the tour. If you could please take a moment to hit that subscribe button, share this out with your friends and family, and if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that like button. I'm hoping that the noise from the interstate isn't picking up all that bad on the microphone. But I'm guessing it probably is, because my shirt is flipped around and it's facing that way. All right, so this is going to be a little bit noisy because I am up here with this wonderful view, but unfortunately we have a lovely interstate right below, so that makes things just a little bit noisy for this, but I'll try to do this all one-handed, just myself. Always fun. Going to be doing a kind of a little bit of a tour of America video series, and for this series I am going to start out at the Chief War Eagle Monument here in Sioux City, Iowa. Now, I've come up to Iowa for the Independence Day weekend to visit some friends, and I figured, well, let's start this off with a little bit of American history. And so I am here at the War Eagle Monument, and War Eagle was born in either Wisconsin or Minnesota in 1785. Indian name means Little Eagle. Whites always referred to him as War Eagle, which is odd because all through his life, War Eagle sought to pretty much, end violence and have peace amongst the Indians and the white man. He served as a riverboat guide and pilot on the upper Mississippi River. He worked for the American Fur Company, delivering messages during the War of 1812. He carried messages for the government. One of the things War Eagle was most proud of was a silver medal that he received from the President of the United States in 1837. His family still proudly displays this medal. By the time he had been elected chief of the tribe, had been invited to travel to Washington, D.C. with other tribal leaders from around the nation to negotiate peace treaties. So the Sioux City area is full of history from the time of the Louisiana Purchase forward in our country. Lewis and Clark expedition went right on through this area, and so we'll be also talking a little bit about the Lewis and Clark expedition as part of this. But let's take a look a little bit at the War Eagle Park and statue. Need a little bit wider lens to really get this in there good, but it's a little bit dark and cloudy today. It's been either 1,000 degrees and really bright sun, or it has been dark, cloudy, kind of rainy and misty. And I don't have much time left, so unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of waiting for the perfect conditions to film in. But these iron plates on the side of the monument tell the story of Chief War Eagle and some history of the area. As you can see, Chief War Eagle was alive from 1780 to 1851. I've decided to try out the Rode Wireless Go for this video, as I was looking for a new microphone to use for my travel videos, simply because the Rode Video Micro, while a very good microphone, the biggest problem that I had with it is being a one-man operation and switching between vlogging mode like this and normal video mode was the orientation of the microphone. If I had it facing the front, so when I'm talking to the camera like this, it picked up great sound and I could usually hear what I was saying without any problem. However, whenever I then went to switch the camera around to video mode, if I wanted to narrate while I was taking video, the microphone was pointed away from me, and I either had to try to switch it back and forth or deal with the fact that it really wasn't picking up my voice. And in a more noisy environment, a lot of the times it would pick up the noise of what was around me rather than my voice, or my voice would be so muted that it was hard to hear me, and then I'd have to either try to do voiceovers or to do just go without the voice altogether. So we're going to give this a try, see how this works. I'm not sure how this is going to pick up the background noise that's around me. Just kind of watching the sound monitor on my screen, it seems like it picks it up a little bit, but it seems like it picks up my voice a lot better. So hopefully the sound quality for my voice for these videos is going to be better than it was before. Good afternoon, everyone. A lot of times the bigger cities like Washington and Philadelphia get the most traction, but the areas through the Midwest also have a lot of history, especially this part of the country, which was part of the Lewis and Clark Trail. During their exploration from the Mississippi River out west, Lewis and Clark came through this area as they were exploring the Missouri River out to the west. And one of the locations here in Sioux City is the Sergeant Floyd Monument. And during their expedition, Sergeant Floyd got sick and died here in Sioux City. And so he is buried here at this monument, and we'll be talking a little bit more throughout this video about the history of the Lewis and Clark expedition, what part Sioux City and other parts of the Midwest played, and to try to give you a little bit of video. It is unfortunately pretty noisy around here because both the War Eagle Monument and the Sergeant Floyd Monument are located on bluffs overlooking the Missouri River, and because the respective people are buried at these locations long before highways, interstates were ever created, I'm sure back in their time this was a beautiful, quiet, scenic overlook. Today, however, Interstate 29 runs north and south through this area, so there is quite a bit of traffic on the highway pretty much at all times of the day. So I'm trying out these Rode Wireless Go microphones to try to give myself a little bit better audio when I am talking, rather than having something mounted on the camera, which would not work at all in this situation. And unfortunately, I don't know what the sound quality is going to be like until I get this video into editing, but I'm hoping that despite all of the road noise that you can hear what I am saying. But also, as I started to kind of take pictures and film out here, the external screen on my camera broke, so it's going to be very awkward to try to make sure that everything is in frame and lined up the way that I want it to. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do any actual vlogging while holding the camera for this, just because I have no way of seeing exactly where I'm going to be at in frame. So I have to get that fixed, get that sent in, get it fixed once I am done with this trip. But I hope you appreciate the history that's in through this part of the country, and as you are out traveling, especially if you are driving across country, I definitely encourage you to plan out some sites like this throughout the Midwest to see some of the great history that America has to offer. Of course, that way happens to be right into the sun. Did not plan that out very good. Let's try from the other side. The Lewis and Clark expedition from August 31st, 1803
to September 25th, 1806, also known as the Corps of Discovery Expedition, was the United States expedition to cross the newly acquired western portion of the country after the Louisiana Purchase. The Corps of Discovery was a select group of U.S. Army and civilian volunteers under the command of Captain Meriwether Lewis and his close friend, Second Lieutenant William Clark. The expedition made its way westward and crossed the central divides of the Americas before reaching the Pacific coast. President Thomas Jefferson commissioned the expedition shortly after the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 to explore and to map the newly acquired territory to find a practical route across the western half of the continent and to establish an American presence in this territory before the European powers attempted to establish claims to the region. The campaign's secondary objectives were scientific and economic, to study the area's plants, wildlife, geography, and to establish trade with the local Native American tribes. The expedition returned to St. Louis to report its findings to Jefferson with maps, sketches, and journals in hand. The Sergeant Floyd Monument commemorates Sergeant Charles Floyd Jr., the only member of the Corps of Discovery expedition to die on the journey. Writing in his diary on July 31st, Floyd noted, "I am very sick and have been for some time, but have recovered my health again." However, this quick recovery was followed by a turn for the worse. The night before his death, Clark remarked, "Sergeant Floyd is taken very bad all at once. We attempted to relieve him without success as of yet." On August 20th, 1804, Floyd passed away. He died of an illness that even the best doctors of the day could not have cured. The Sergeant Floyd Monument is a high potential historic site on the Lewis and Clark Trail. In 1857, erosion induced by the Missouri River partially exposed Floyd's grave. Local settlers recovered and returned most of the skeletal remains in a different location on the bluff. The grave was moved again in 1895. The Sergeant Floyd Monument was built in 1901. Floyd's remains were moved a third time and reburied at the base of the Floyd Monument, located along US 75 in Sioux City, Iowa. The monument is within a 23-acre park overlooking the Missouri River Valley, which is where we are at today. Not sure how good this is showing up. It's awfully dark, and dark on dark sometimes does not work well. Trying to get the right angle. Well, everyone, that about wraps it up for this short little America the Beautiful historic video series of a couple of the sites in Sioux City, Iowa. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you hit that like button, share it out with your friends, and also make sure to subscribe to this channel. Thanks!